Hello everyone in the VC, it's Matt and I'm checking in with a new video, and today I thought I would review a couple of movies. I know that on my Ringo album reviews, I've been a while since I've done one. Gonna get to that. I hope maybe tomorrow, can't make any promises, maybe next week. I've just been slammed with work and life in general. The other thing with that is the album that I'm up to now is one that I didn't have before and wasn't familiar with. I only knew one song off of it. So I got it, I don't know, a month or so ago, and I've been listening to it for the last couple of weeks when I'm going to and from work because I really want to get familiar with it. I don't want to just didn't want to just give it a cursory one or two listens and didn't do a review, because a lot of times, you album that doesn't hit you at first, after you listen to it for a few times and get used to it, you start to like it, or you liked it at first and a few more listens and you think, it's not that great after all, that sort of thing. So I have been listening to it, and we'll get to that. Anyway, wanted to do two movies, so we'll start off with the one I saw today, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is a movie that I was really looking forward to ever since the trailer came out a month or so ago. Got to give a disclaimer though, so I don't know how much use this review will be to anyone. That disclaimer is that I'm not a big Quentin Tarantino fan, and most of his movies I really don't like. There are some exceptions, but we'll start off with the big one. And I know that everybody in the world, apparently, except for me, thinks that Pulp Fiction is the bee's knees and a classic of cinema. I just never got it. Don't really like the movie. And not saying that, I'm right and others are wrong, or they're right and wrong and I'm right. Just saying I just never cared for the movie very much. I thought it was, okay at best, and if even that. I remember seeing the trailers for, was it Hard Eight or Grade Eight or whatever, and thinking that looks really good and looking forward to it. Same thing with the trailer for Django, and I saw both of those movies. I thought they were terrible. Now, the Django, a side note here, the original Django film from 1966, the spaghetti western, that is a great movie. That is worth checking out, and that's a classic of western, spaghetti western cinema. But that really doesn't have anything at all to do with the Tarantino film, other than they share a title, Django in the title. But check that one out. But Reservoir Dogs, I thought was okay, but not as great as other people thought, apparently. I did like Kill Bill, both of those. I really, really like, and my favorite of his for the moment is Inglourious Bastards. I like that film a lot. And Jackie Brown, I've heard is supposed to be good, but I've never seen it, so I need to get around to seeing it someday. And I don't know if he's had any other movies or not. The double feature thing that he did with the Robert Rodriguez, I think, and the movie had Rose McGowan with the machine gun for her leg and all that. That was goofy and fun, and not great, but fun. So, I was looking forward to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood from the trailer, but I was also sort of thinking, well, is this going to be the same situation like Hard Eight and Django, where the trailer looked really good, and then I went and saw the movie and just thought, this is really terrible. The other thing was, not a huge fan of Leonardo DiCaprio or Margot Robbie, however you say her name. Nothing against them, again. That's just the movies that I've seen them in. I haven't really, never really been blown away by any of their performances. But I'll give credit where credit's due. I think both of them do a bang up job. Both of them really do well in this movie. This might be their best performances. I don't know. I haven't seen all of their movies, so I can't say. And same with Brad Pitt. I've always thought he's okay, and he's good in some movies, not so much in others. But I think he does a really good job here, and I think this is arguably his best performance. Again, he's made a lot of movies, and I've only seen a handful of them. But of the ones I've seen, I would say this is his best performance. And there's other movies I've seen him in where I thought he was pretty good. So, Anyway, this also, I think, one reason. Well, let's just get right to it. I think, in my opinion, and this is just I've seen it one time, and plan to see it again. I can't wait for it to come out on DVD, and I'll definitely be buying this one. But just based on one viewing a few hours ago, I would say this is Tarantino's best movie. So it jumps Inglorious Bastards, and I would say it's his best movie so far. That may change, when I see it again or when it comes out on DVD in 2 or 3 months and I get it. I might think, well, it was good, but not as good as I thought that first day, or it's even better than I thought, or who knows what. We'll see what happens. But I think, or I would argue that this is Tarantino's first movie of substance because even the movies of his that I like, they tend to be just sort of over the top action, almost cartoons in some ways, which is okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with just a good popcorn thriller, action packed, over the top extravaganza, which is what Inglorious Bastards basically is. I mean, it's as much as I like the movie, it's a lot of fun, but it's obviously rewrites history, and Brad Pitt is he does I think he does a really good job in that movie, but basically just playing a cartoon character, which fits that movie, so it's okay. Maybe the girl that runs the movie theater, she has sort of a story arc and some substance to her part, but anyway, I like a lot of types of movies, but I do tend to like best those movies that have a story, that have some substance and a plot and character development and so forth. And so I like this movie in talking about Once on Hollywood because yeah, a lot of it is also overblown and action packed and just over the top and unrealistic, and it does rewrite history too, just like Inglorious Bastards did. But it also has I think it has multiple stories going on in it, themes and plots, which I like. It leaves some stuff open ended, which I like too. It's not dumbed down and where it's spells everything out for you like too many movies and TV shows do nowadays. But I think you've got really good performances by all the lead actors, and Pacino, might be a little over the top on that part, but he's only in there briefly. But otherwise, I mean, I think you have some character develop, some real heart and soul in between the action and the comedy stuff, and that helps, and it just mixes together well. I love the details. They get 1969 pretty much down to a T, from the cars, the buildings, the clothes, the Vitalis, the Aquanet, the I know Brad Pitt is wearing a Champion spark plug T-shirt throughout a bunch of the movie, which I thought was really cool because I remember having one of those T-shirts back in probably 68, 69 when I was a little kid. The STP sticker on the garage wall kind of took me back because I remember being a kid, and when dad or grandfather would go to the auto parts store, my brothers and I'd be like, "Hey, mister, you got any stickers for us?" And they'd give us STP stickers, Quaker State Oil, stuff like that. We'd take them home and stick them up on our bedroom door, our bicycles, or whatever. So and the radio stations, the commercials, the ads, all that stuff just takes you back to 1969. So that's really cool. He gets that stuff down and does it really well. I love the music. The soundtrack is great. And what I especially like, well, I mean, songs are great by and large. There's a couple songs in there that aren't my favorite, but that's fine. They work in the movie. And I love Paul Revere and the Raiders anyway. Ramblin' Gambling Man's a great song, and there's a lot of other great songs in there. I love the way that the soundtrack isn't just music playing while the scene's going on, but that it's incorporated into the movie, into people's lives. So you see people putting a record on, you see people getting in their car and turning on the radio, and they drive down the street and it plays part of a song. They get out and they turn the car off and the radio goes off and they go on with the next scene. You got the ads, you got they're at a party and someone's playing a song that people are dancing to and so forth, and the ads play in with the radio. The radio will be talking. I love the snippets of news on the radio. There's something about the trial for Sirhan Sirhan, the guy who shot Bobby Kennedy. Of course, that would have been going on in that happened in '68 would have been going on in '69, and all those little details really add up and make the movie uh, a great experience. So, um, yeah, I would really like this movie, and I think I would going to give it a 10, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again. They visit the Playboy Mansion. You got the Bruce Lee scene, something with Batman. I don't want too many spoilers here in case you haven't seen it. Playboy Mansion, all sorts of stuff, and it's sort of that end of the '60s. A lot of changes going on in America, a lot of changes going on in the movie industry that they play into, sort of the old studio system falling away and the new kind of the American new wave of cinema coming in, and I think they just do a cracker job on it. Uh, so yeah, I really like this movie and I would recommend it. The other film, and I know the bus has already left the station on this about a month ago, but I never really chimed in on it, is Yesterday. Being a huge Beatle fan, obviously I went and saw it. I didn't get to see it the first week because I was busy, but I saw it the second weekend. And I'm sure, in case you don't, but everyone knows the plot on that one, which is this guy goes through an incident and he wakes up and he's the only person in the world who remembers the Beatles. Everyone else has no clue who they are, and he starts. He was a musician who was just with very little success, and then he starts passing off Beatles songs as his own and becomes world famous, and there you go. So I liked the movie. I don't think I liked it as much as a lot of people came on here and did reviews on it a month ago when it first came out. A lot of people really liked it. I liked it pretty well, but as I say, just probably not as much as some of the other people here. I found myself sort of dissecting the movie and picking it apart. I was thinking, because no one knows who the Beatles are, and yet they know the Rolling Stones and all these other bands, and I'm thinking, well, if there was no Beatles, there probably would have been no Rolling Stones, and the Who and so forth and so on. Even though those guys started bands roughly around the same time as the Beatles before they were famous, but I don't know that they would have, Rolling Stones would have become famous, but not for the Beatles. I don't know that they might have been a band playing clubs and doing old blues covers like they were. Don't know if they would have ever occurred to them to write their own songs without the fact that the Beatles existed and so forth. And so it's kind of strange that with the exception of Oasis, I guess, that the rest of the musical world exists in the absence of the Beatles, and obviously music will still be around, but it would be very different. There's no way we can know how, but so I was thinking about that, and then I was thinking, well, this guy's performing Beatles songs, is telling people that he wrote them, and he's all of a sudden the biggest selling artist in the world, and in the movie, of course, takes place in present day, and so kids aren't buying 45s and albums, they're buying downloads, but he's outselling everybody. And then he befriends this Ed Sheeran guy, who's some current musician that I heard of but never heard before this movie. There's a couple of songs in there that I think are his that are not very good, so I'm not thinking he's someone I'd like, but and I guess he does an okay job in the movie, but he's already in the movie, he's already an established star. And then this guy comes along, and even the Ed Sheeran character says, they do a song battle, and he says, hey, you better songwriter than me, and then he's outselling everybody. Well, the Ed Sheeran guy's playing Wembley Stadium, but the guy with the Beatles songs is still playing like a rooftop on the beach in these clubs. And I'm thinking, well, if this is the biggest musical sensation of the day and he's outselling everybody, wouldn't he be playing these big concert hall and stadium shows and selling them out? But then I think, well, okay, this isn't that kind of movie. You're not supposed to get caught up on that. This is a fantasy movie, and you're just supposed to go along with the idea and kick back and enjoy the ride. And so for that, it's fun. And I think the main character, I think he's pretty good job. I think the girlfriend does a pretty good job, and the goofy kind of clueless roadie buddy friend does well. I like the music in the film, the performances for the most part. I love the part where him and the girl are in the recording studio with the train going by and the guy, and they're doing the early Beatles songs. I like the version of Help, and then most of them he does pretty well. I like him in the context of the movie. I really wouldn't care to listen to him outside of that. I know there's a soundtrack to this. I would have no interest in buying that and just listening to those songs on their own, because I don't think most people that cover the Beatles don't really do it very well. And this guy, he does all right for the, like I said, it works in the context of the movie, but it's not anything that I would want to listen to outside of that. So, but yeah, I mean, there's some of the songs, and of course, none of these are better than the Beatles, but some of them are enjoyable for what they are in the context of the movie again. And what else? Oh, and then also it kind of hit me that, but for the Beatle angle on this movie, what we have here is a rom com. What we have here is a Hallmark Channel movie, basically. It's a love story between the guy and the girl, and the guy just happens to be a struggling musician who all of a sudden gets famous, and then you bring the Beatle angle into it. But I mean, rom com and all that, that's fine too. But what I do like about the movie was I like the couple, the Russian guy and the lady, that they also remembered the Beatles, and they eventually hook up with the guy. That was a good scene. I like when he goes to visit John. I kind of was hoping, I was expecting or anticipating that maybe he would say something, or him or the John character would say something like, "Oh yeah, I used to be in a band." I forgot about that. That was ages ago when I was a kid, and we knocked around, and we even got good enough to play some clubs and stuff and talk to some record labels. But in the end, it didn't go anywhere, and you gotta get a job and support yourself. And here I am. So that would have been kind of neat to add to it. But I did like what was in there. The John scene thought was really good, and I kind of think that they intimate that he married not necessarily Yoko, but a Japanese woman or a woman of a different race, because he talks about his wife in a way that makes you think that his wife has passed away, but he says it was difficult and people talked or something. There's some lines in there. I'm not sure if that was what they were getting at, but that's kind of what I got from it. Would have been great if they would have had the other three Beatles in there. I don't know if they tried to approach Paul and Ringo and they just weren't interested, or maybe they didn't think to approach him. I don't know, but it would have been fun to actually have Paul and Ringo in the movie, and Paul as a, I don't know, like maybe a music teacher at a college. Ringo is maybe I don't know, hairdresser. He always said he wanted to own some beauty shops or something back in the day, or maybe as sort of a comic actor or something. Would have been great to have a George character who, you have some billionaire industrialist or banker that owns Friar Park, and George is there, but he's the gardener type scene or something. Of course, that would have made the movie a lot longer, so who knows? But that would have been fun. So I liked all that. I generally liked the performances from the people. Ed Sheeran character, Sharon was kind of annoying, but I guess he did okay for what he was supposed to be. I I, uh, I enjoyed the movie for what it was. I don't I don't think I'm going to get it when it comes out on DVD. I'm not in any hurry to see it again. I may see it again someday, but if I don't, I think it's kind of one of those movies that you watch once, for me at least, and say, yeah, okay, that was fun, and there you go. So I would give Yesterday probably a 6. I don't know. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I really did like that a lot. And for someone who doesn't like Tarantino movies, generally speaking, I think I'd go so far to say, and I know that this is just first impression because I just saw it today, it's probably the best movie I've seen since, I don't know, like Rushmore or Election. So 20 some years. I've seen good movies, but this may be up there in my favorite movies list. I'll have to see it at least once more, probably more than that, to really be able to say that with conviction. But right now, I'm really liking this movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again. And trying to think anything else. That's all I got to say. I'll be back with Ringo maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. Hope you all have a good weekend. See you then.